Hi everybody, I have a tutorial to share with you today. We are using this book called Explore Honeybees with 25 Great Projects by Cindy Blobaum as inspiration for today's project. We are going to felt a bee. Now you could easily draw this, but we are going to attempt felting it. For this project you'll need some foam for felting as well as some wool top. You'll also need these special needles for felting. They've got a barbed end on them. And I also picked up some other wool. This is all from achildsdream.com. And we're kind of debating which color we're going to go with, but we decided to go with the lighter yellow. Now the first part I'm going to work on is the thorax, and then we'll move on to the head and then the abdomen last. So you just need a small piece. Actually, I'll tell you, this was harder making it small. I think we would have had an easier time making it larger the way I had originally intended for all of us just to work on one rather than each of us to work on our own. So now I'm working on the head, and I am just trying to make it a little bit more oval. It was the same as the thorax, but just a little bit smaller and a little bit more oval. When you see them both together, you'll get a sense of the size, and then the abdomen, which is coming up next, is going to be a lot larger. Now I've got this little bit of black to make the eyes, and I ended up making them far too big. Now you just need a very tiny little bit of it. I'm going to kind of twist it around over my fingers and just try to get it as flat and round as possible. And once you start using the needle, you can really kind of manipulate the shape a little bit, and I kind of fold it over on itself until I get kind of the shape that I want. But working with it this small was really difficult, and I would advise you, if you want to try this project, to work on it on a much larger scale. The end product was maybe about 4 inches, maybe 6 inches long at the most. Now, if you're looking at those little black dots on the very top, I was trying to make those 3 small eyes that sense light for a bee rather than the eyes that are on the side. It didn't look good. It was really too distracting, and my child who was working with me, my 10-year-old, ended up not doing that. We were trying to make it more like anatomically correct as part of our lesson, but it just was too difficult. I am working on the abdomen right now. It is more poofy and larger all around, and I think it probably would have been better if all of the pieces were a little bit larger so they would be easier to work with. Now I just want to adhere the abdomen to the thorax, and now we can start working on the more decorative parts of the bee. So I'm going to use a very thin little bit of this black. Now originally I decided to make these bees smaller because I didn't think I was going to have enough black in order to make a larger bee where we all would be working on one of them. But it turns out I've got more than enough. You only need a very, very little bit in order to do this. Now I twisted this around a little bit too tightly, so it doesn't really look that natural, but you get the idea. Like, it's obvious sort of in the end what it is. Now I've got some pipe cleaners that I'm going to wrap with a little bit of black wool. Now this didn't adhere as well as I thought. Now we did this before with another felting project and it worked really well, but this one for some reason didn't. And I'm wondering if maybe using black pipe cleaners to begin with would have been a lot easier. Now getting them attached to the bee was really difficult. I struggled with this quite a bit, and I kept having to needle felt that black wool into the bee to keep it attached, but they pop right off, as you can see. It was really difficult to get them to stay put. My son came up with his own solution, and you'll be able to see that a little bit later in the video. Next, we're going to work on the wings, and I'm taking a very tiny little bit of this light pink wool to make the wings, and I made these super fast and super easy. At this point in the project, we were all kind of a little bit frustrated. My son is working off to the left, and you'll see a little bit of his work later on in the video, and my daughter was working on hers as well, and hers turned out fantastic. I think when you don't think about it too much, it ends up being a little bit better. Now for the wings, I just folded over a little bit of wool and I kind of needle felted it down, and then I adhered it onto the back of the bee. I'm going to do the same thing for the other one. Just really kind of a messy look. It wasn't like that specific, and that's okay. In the end, it looks pretty cute. It's probably not something that we're going to do again anytime soon. We didn't have that wonderful feeling of satisfaction by the time we were done. We were all a little bit frustrated. I'm going to go ahead and put the stinger in with a little bit of black wool, and then that's it. And it looks okay in the end. My son's looks really charming as well. You're going to get a closer look at the project that my 6-year-old and my 10-year-old did in a little bit. Try to cover over those black eyes at the very top. They are the ones that sense light. Now here's my 6-year-old working on hers. Now I was helping my son while she was working on hers, and she got pretty frustrated at some point, and I think accidentally poked her hand with the needle, and that pretty much ended like her work on it for a while. She came back to it later and finished it up. And my son decided to hot glue those legs on, and he didn't even bother covering them with black because at this point he was also pretty frustrated. We're back to the one that I made, which that black wool is really not sticking to those legs, but that's okay. In the end, you know what it is, and it's going to work really great with the project that I've got coming up. For information on all the products that we used today, you can check the description box below. And if you want to see some of the other projects that we're doing in our nature unit studies, you can click on the screen. And if you want to see what we're doing on a more daily basis, you can find me on Instagram at Pepper and Pine.